architecture fraternity across the four quadrants of India. Through this platform, we witness the struggles and experiments of the chosen vanguards during the different eras through various approaches like practice, research, policy making, conservation, writing, and teaching. Having started from the architecture of the newly independent nation, we moved towards the future through an era of recession, pandemic, demonetization on one hand, and urbanization, artificial intelligence, and globalization on the other. We now proceed to the present with an aim to visualize the future of Indian architecture in a local as well as global scenario. We also try to relate the art of architecture to the feasibility of its implementation and back to the visualization that lies beyond what we just see. Chapter 4 of Quadrants 2021 is aimed at discovering the strengths of inclusive approach in architecture along with the analysis of global technologies and its advancements of BIM and artificial intelligence. We again thank COA-TRC Bhopal for this platform and for this joint venture. I would now introduce our speaker one for the day, Dr. Amarnath. We are really thankful for you, sir, for taking out time even at this crucial time. Thank you. I'll just have a brief introduction of sir and introduce him to our speakers. Dr. Chegu Badrinath is playing an active role as an advisory member for several Digital Build India initiatives. He is the founding president of the National BIM Society, India Building Information Modeling Association, that focus on digital transformation of Indian AECO sector. He's also serving as the head BIM strategy at Larsen and Toubro Construction and as National Secretary Forum for Human Rights and Anti-Corruption. Over the course of his career, he held several positions in India, Taiwan, Spain, Italy, and UK. He holds a PhD in establishing organization BIM strategies from National Taiwan University with 1-year exchange at Imperial College of London. One master's in global BIM management from University of Barcelona, Ziggurat GIT, and another in construction management from Bangalore University. He is contributing as guest faculty at university. He's also contributing as a guest faculty and industry guide for research in BIM and digital strategy at IIT Delhi and Madras, NIT Trichy, Surathkal, SET University, Symbiosis Institute, University, Politecnico di Milano, etc. He is a member of the Board of Studies at Symbiosis International University and Vellore Institute of Technology, also Kolhapur Institute of Technology and SRM University. He is the member of Governing Council at FOCUS, that is a Forum of Critical Utility Services. He has participated in few international conferences, published journals and book chapters in this area. His key focus is on two directions, that is establishing BIM project strategies and BIM education and training. And these two directions merge with what can be considered the main shortage in Indian construction policy. How BIM can help the huge amount of new infrastructure and building projects, and how BIM would have to be introduced in the learning plans and syllabuses of the university. He's an advisory member to EU BIM Observatory and BIM Crew. He's a country editor for BIM Dictionary, BIM Initiative, member of CIOB, ASCE, and RICS, editorial team member of IJM and P Journal, and ISCCCBE technical committee member. We welcome Dr. Amarnath for the chapter 4, and we look forward to have an insight of your vast knowledge base. We are really happy to have you here, sir. Maybe please start with your presentation now. Thank you for being here.
Madam, thank you for the brief introduction. And also like to thank all the audience today. I think most of you are architects. I'm a civil engineer. But when we say about coming into the projects, it may be building or infra or smart cities, it's a collaborative approach which works. We need to think about what is the contributions from each side to have the successful projects. And today I will be discussing about BIM. We call it as a building information modeling and its applications in mega infrastructure projects. Well, BIM is not a new topic, though it's already there in the market from past 3 decades at least. And if you ask what is this BIM, I would say it's all about data management in a better way, so that all of us in the project as a stakeholders get the right data at right point of time, which may be used for different kind of activities, maybe different analysis or simulations or time cost planning, whatever. So, well, this is my WhatsApp number. If anyone like to connect, I will be available on WhatsApp. I can share you some books. I have some 40 to 50 books on them, and also some research papers and standards. If you like to reach out to me, I will be able to share you those documents, which may help you to do some further research activity on that. So, as this slide clearly says, that it's all about data management from the start of the project, when you conceptualize and then you maintain the facility and then demolition and recycle. For all these phases, you have different categories of stakeholders getting involved at different stages of the projects. Forget about a small project. If you look into the mega scale, which may be for next 3 to 5 years or 10 years projects, so it's a lot of data getting generated. Even the organizations, it may be 5 to 10 organizations taking part in such projects, and also people keep changing. I mean, today, whoever is a subcontractor in the construction, maybe you have a different subcontractor after 2 to 3 years. So what happens is there is a lot of data getting generated from the conceptual planning, the surveying, and then the developer design, technical design, then the construction phase, and then you are handing over the projects, then you are doing the operation and maintenance, and for demolition and recycle. So different parties involved here has to generate several data, and this data is getting lost when we don't do or use BIM, because some data is getting captured on emails or some documentations, or on the drawings or whatever. But whenever we need the data, we may not be able to access. Now, maybe I'm in operations phase, 10 years after the handover, and I may need some data when it was handed over, or I may need data after 5 years of operation. If you don't get the data, you may be wasting your efforts or extra money or time to get the data. What happens with BIM is each and every phases, when the data is getting generated, it's getting compiled into one model. When we say BIM, there are three key components in here. One is the model itself, how detailed is the model. Second one, it's about its parameters. For example, I click on a door and I can see what is the door material or door manufacturer, when was it installed, and what is the thickness, what is its dimensions. All this we call it as a parameters. And another one is documentation. There is some installation guide or for some equipment installation. Even that guide is attached to the model for the equipment. So the documentation, parameters update, and the model itself, all this data is coming in. And even when I'm doing some construction activity, some time planning is done, or some changes prefabrication has to be done, some analysis you have done, lighting, earthquake, structure, wind, all this data, when you do the analysis and keep updating, that data gets updated to the model. So coming to this slide, we all know that we have roughly 8 phases if we consider the life cycle stages. These stages I've considered from Royal Institute of British Architects plan, and most of the BIM projects, they align with these stages. The brief stage is like client and the consultant discussing about the site situations, and the concept design is like the architect comes into picture, develops some conceptual model, set the orientation, and so on. The definition phase is where the model with the structural and other division comes in. This design phase, it's a technical design phase where you have architecture, structure, MEP, fire protection, electrical arm systems, or whatever interiors. All those disciplines models are developed and they're coordinated to avoid the clashes. Because when you don't avoid these clashes, it may come onto the site to lead to the rework. Next comes the build and commission, where the construction team comes in, contractors, subcontractors, and so on. So, design team need to hand over the BIM model from the stage 4 to stage 5 for the contractors, and they should be able to use this model for site activities, maybe for fabrication, for time planning, tracking, monitoring, cost planning, tracking, monitoring, safety planning, quality control, procurement, logistic planning, this kind of activities. And also, what you have developed as a model or a drawing may not be always the replica on your site, because some modifications will always come, and you want to make sure that that modifications on the site are updated back to the BIM model during the construction phase. And then you hand it over, whatever the changes on the site, you update back to the model, and then it becomes a virtual asset for your physical facility. Virtual asset for your physical facility. And that need to be delivered in the handover phase by the contractors and the subcontractors to the operations and maintenance team. Then they start using the same model during the operation and maintenance. And any changes during the operation and maintenance down the line 30, 40 years, all those changes are updated back to the model. And you may be hearing the term called digital twin. That is nothing but the virtual asset, which is a replica of your physical facility. It should reflect whatever the changes is there, whatever is there on the actual site. That change that should be updated into the BIM model. We call that as a digital twin. And now, looking into the three items in the BIM model, as I said, graphical, non-graphical, documentation. So from the stage one, all these three data keeps on developing, and you can see the data keeps on becoming higher and higher as you go for construction and handover phases. And what it means is, will I be able to access the data at the concept design, what has been generated at a technical design? Will I be able to access the data easily at the build and commission phase about the data developed at the technical design? Will I be able to access the data in the operation phase about the data generated in the build and commission? And this is a problem in the current situation, because it takes, when you're handing over the projects, the small projects may be easier, but mid scale and large scale and mega scale projects, it's not so easy. You need to have the data properly managed. And that's where the BIM plays a major role. And we are hearing day to day different topics like usage of drones for the survey, photogrammetry, usage of 3D printers, which may be for scaled models, or it may be for real facility printing. We may be using the terms called construction automations. You have the cranes automated, you have this kind of robots. So what this robot can do is, it can, once you feed the BIM model into this device, it can start punching in the nails wherever you want for MEP activities. So these kind of automations are coming in. And laser scanning. We also use laser scanners for existing facility. You want to have the digital twin of that, and you want to do the progress monitoring, you may do the laser scanning. You have the point loads from that. You may be using AI, IoT, Internet of Things for the site activities, for monitoring, or also for facility management. That's where we call it as a smart facility management. We're also using prefabrication, wherein you have the BIM model with LOD 300 to 350 given to the fabrication team during the construction phase. They'll be able to feed that model and able to use in the CNC machines for fabrication much easier, the precise requirements. And this kind of requirements becomes very much priority in the mechanical, electrical, plumbing activities or industry projects. So, if you ask me, what is the link between all of these and the BIM? I would say it's supporting, all of these devices are supporting to have the data management through the BIM. For example, if I'm using drone and collecting the data, I have it in the BIM model. Construction automation, you're able to do that because you're able to link the BIM model to the devices like this. Laser scanning, because from the laser scan, you get the point loads and convert to the model. IoT, AI devices, what you use in the operations or construction phase, you're linking it to the model. Fabrication, you're able to do that in a precise way because you have the BIM model given to the fabrication team. And also 3D printing happens because you have the BIM model to do the 3D printing. So it's all linked to the BIM. If someone is saying, okay, digital twin, virtual design construction, BIM, all of these are same. or some people may say digital engineering. It's only confusion many people get into, but it's all about data management. Looking into the global trends in BIM research, if you just go to Google and say BIM research, you will find this article. This I had done in 2016. It comes as a first link because one of the top 10 research output globally at that point of time. What we have done here is this will give a clarity on what kind of research and developments is happening from past 2 to 3 decades globally. And if you see the kind of developments, the lot of activities in Nordic region and the UK, they're more into policy developments. India and a few other developing countries are focusing on providing the BIM services to the global sector. It's about modeling, documentation, setting up the CDE, laser scanning, model conversions, 2D drawings development, this kind of activities. If you look in some of the countries like some of the UK, Nordic region, they are into software development. Some of the Gulf region, where they're more on implementing these things and get the work done. And some countries are focusing on education perspective. So it depends on different countries on a different development levels. So someone want to pursue research on these lines, probably they just Google BIM research and find an article. It has interactive maps. You can select the BIM research area and you get the related papers from different countries. Easy to align yourself on what research you want to do. Because within BIM, there are 10 to 12 research directions which can be of different people interest. Looking into the BIM related initiatives, well, like how we have instead of architects, instead of engineers, builders associations, council of architecture. It's a kind of councils to bring a community of the similar mindset together, right? The same way, these 40 plus countries have the BIM related forums, initiatives in their countries. And within India, we have India BIM Association. And we have MOUs with Canada BIM Council, Brazil BIM Forum, BIM Africa, BIM for Turkey, and few other countries. And we are planning to set up together a global BIM forum. All of these initiatives coming together. And frankly speaking, these kind of forums are coming very quickly in each of the country. Down the line, if you see 5 to 6 years, these developments have happened. So that means there's a huge community out there just focusing on BIM. They may be an architect, they may be a civil engineer, they may be electrical, they may be plumbing, they may be mechanical, they may be computer science, they may be management, they may be legal, they may be university people, they may be industry people, they may be policymakers. All these people are part of this kind of forums because BIM is all about multidisciplinary. BIM is all about data management, it's overall project management. So these are the 50 BIM forums which were identified from 40 countries, and we also have India BIM Association. So what do we do in the India BIM Association? We build an ecosystem in Indian AECO sector. You may be having a question, what is this AECO sector? Architecture, engineering, construction, operation. So we need to build that ecosystem because at the end, we need to know what are we working together as, what are our roles and what are other party roles in the projects. So we have three categories of people who need to be come together: policymakers, industry people, that is process, and technology field. Technology field people are like software developers, hardware developers, network providers. Software developers are like Autodesk, Bentley, Trimble, Dassault, Bexel, Invicara, Ecodemus, Onuma Systems, Archibus. There are like 30 plus software vendors providing BIM solutions. Hardware developers are like any companies, HTC or even hardware developers, including HP, Apple, Mac, whatever, and the network providers. So these people should be able to provide the right set of softwares for implementing BIM in the project. When you want to implement BIM in a project, you have to use at least 15 to 20 softwares. Some softwares for modeling, some for simulation, some for planning. Policymakers are like regulatory bodies, education institutions, research centers, and so on. They're more into developing education, standards for implementation, best practices, and so on. Industry people who are like owners, project managers, operators, architects, developers, contractors, who will be actually using these technologies and the standards developed by the policy people to actual implementation. Only when these people come together, BIM implementation becomes successful in the projects. and that's where we as a common forum, we bring these parties together, which will help each other to coordinate and work together. Coming into BIM, many of us hear that many companies do BIM, many projects are delivered with BIM. But what is the maturity? Because everyone are not delivering the same maturity level. Level 0 means there is no BIM at all in the project. Level 1 means BIM is used for design activities in the project. And there is a set of local standards within the organization, and also there is no much of collaboration at level 1. Level 2 means BIM is used for design and construction activities and handed over. And design and construction subcontractors, everyone are aligned with BIM implementation. There's a national standards followed here, and there is a collaboration happening here with a common data environment. Level 3 is like design, construction, operation, all the phases are happening with BIM, and you have the global standards available, and every organization taking part in the project should be BIM compliant, and every software should be cloud based, so that you don't need to install the softwares. You should just able to log in and work out your activities, and everyone are able to access the data about the changes as immediately as possible. Like, I'm a contractor and the architect is making a change, and when I open that model, I will be able to see the changes immediately, or I get an update about the changes made by different parties. So that's the level 3. If you ask level 3, there is no projects yet in the global sector, because softwares are not completely cloud based yet, and all design, construction, operation people are not fully BIM matured yet, and there is not fully global standards available yet. Most of the projects, when they say I've done the best BIM, then they say it's like they're in level 2, design, construction, and handover. Level 1 is like most of the architects, structural MEP people are aligned with BIM, and they develop the BIM models, use it for some analysis. They're like level 1. Level 0, nothing to do with BIM. I think most of the projects in the Indian market, if you ask, they are in level 1, and only very few are at level 2, because client have mandated BIM as a requirement for them, and they ask for digital twin during the handover, and you want to make sure the client will make sure everything is happening aligned and a common data environment is set up. And even in the global market, there are very few projects in level 2 yet. Most of them are at level 1, and a few activities in level 2. Even in level 2, there may be starting of level 2 and the end of level 2. Maybe some companies are mid of level 2 and start of level 2, something like this. So, coming to our company where I serve, Lazan and Tubro, as you know, it's a more of dealing with mega infrastructure projects, and it's difficult to define all the type of projects what we do, because L&T does almost all type of projects. And a short video for you, it's about an airport project. This is a Delhi airport, which was a BIM mandate from the client. This is Hyderabad airport. Okay, I don't want to take more of your time on the slide video. So most of the projects what we do in the airports are completely with BIM, metros, high-speed train, power transmissions, water treatments, um, and some of these material and metallurgical handling projects. Because it has become the way of working for us. It's a way of business for us, because many of our clients globally are saying BIM is a requirement. Not all the clients in India are asking for BIM, but we take it as an internal drive for the company, because it's going to help us procure more projects globally in coming years, because BIM is coming as a mandate from the client side. If you ask me, Airport Authority has mandated BIM. If you're not able to bid with BIM, then you cannot even have the project. And similarly, recently CPWD is setting up their strategies for BIM implementation. Military engineering services for defense and DRDO projects, they're looking in for it. Metro projects, most of the metro projects which is happening include the Bangalore Metro is with BIM. and many of the commercial and residential buildings, healthcare, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is getting aligned with it. So most of the clients are realizing the benefits of BIM, what they would get. So they say, okay, do the project with BIM because I need the data and I need the digital twin. Let me show you, take you through some of the projects what we have in LNT done with BIM. This is the airport project. This is for the residential projects we are using it. This is for commercial projects. This is for stadium project. This for smart infrastructure, including the one in Bangalore near the Kengeri, the BDA is developing one layout. No? Even for that, there is a BIM implementation because when you say about such projects, you have the gas lines, electric lines, water inlet outlet lines. Everything should be coming into one box. So developing those models and able to use it for site activities will be very much helpful. And also for water treatment plants, none of our clients ask for BIM in the water treatment plants, but we make it as a way of business because we are able to have the better walkthrough for the client. We are able to use it for time planning. We are able to use it for client visualization. The client gets a better experience. And also we are able to know the procurements with this, a lot of other benefits. And a common data environment is set up because any changes on the site gets updated. We are using it for metros, ports, and harbors. We're using it for nuclear and special bridges projects. So this is for metallurgical and material handling because at this kind of projects, BIM plays a major role. You have a different small components or which need to be fabricated and bought and assembled on site. If they are not fabricated as per the scale requirement, then assembling becomes too complicated and challenging. And even the procurement of the materials on the site can be decided through this 4D planning. So you know what kind of materials you need at site at different point of time. So 4D BIM plays a major role in this kind of projects and also tracking the progress. This for railway projects and also for the survey, also the point cloud laser scanning we do for this kind of projects. And this for geostructures, even for these we are doing BIM. It's again not a mandate from a client though. This is for power transmissions and distributions. This kind of projects, the global projects are with a client mandate on BIM, and the client themselves have the BIM team to quality audit the projects on the site and they progress monitor the projects. So it becomes a mandatory for us to adopt for it. And the best thing is you have all the similar components to be used as objects later for the projects. Coming into the smart cities, we at LNT we do work on these projects. But BIM is not the way of working it for smart cities because the client mandate is not there. But the BIM investment in this kind of projects is a little bit expensive. You need to clone the whole city through the point cloud, and then you should be able to use that models, develop the model from the point cloud and link it with the datas because you have a data centers in a cities, right? And that model can be utilized in data centers for progress monitoring. And at that level of work is not done in Indian market yet because of no client mandate. And without client mandate, just 1 minute. Without client mandate, investing on that. Sorry, there is someone drilling next to my door.
No problem, sir. You can wait.
Okay, these are some situations which we cannot do anything. Sorry. So what is happening in this kind of projects is we have an interest to go with BIM, but once the client mandates come, we will be able to implement that for the smart cities. But there are some cities in Hong Kong, China, and few other countries. They have BIM for smart cities. They clone the cities. Just 1 minute. Okay, coming into the smart cities where we speak about Geo and BIM coming together. We call it as Geo BIM maturity model. So when we say how BIM, how smart is my city, to know that usually we have four levels: level 0, 1, level 2, level 3. Level 0 and 1 is like this is split across surveying, planning, construction, and operation phases. Level 0 and 1 is like you have theodolites, total stations, you're using drawing sketches, CAD/CAM softwares. Level 0 and 1 in construction, it's like traditional machinery, paper construction drawings, and facility management is through spreadsheets. Level 2 is a little bit upgraded. I think when we're saying smart cities currently, people are focusing on this level 2. Scanning tools, remote sensing, and underground infrastructure. And for plan and design, CAD and BIM coming into picture, GIS and 3D point clouds. For construction, you are using BIM and GIS and GNSS enabled mission controls. For operation, you have BIM and GS combined. For level 3, which is like idealistic situation, which may take some years. So using LiDAR, mobile mapping technologies, drones, acoustic locating. For planning, you're using digital twin, which brings in integrated BIM, GAs, and Internet of Things. For construction, it's about additive construction, 3D printing, prefab, modular construction, robotics. For operations, it's about having the digital twin, which has integrated BIM model, GIS data, Internet of Things linked, and big data analytics with sensor usage for smart city or management like that. So this is the kind of maturity we are looking in for having BIM. But it would take some time to have this kind of smart city planning. The current way of defining smart city, I don't think they are at level 2 or 3. They are still at level 1 or a bit in level 2. So just show you about the way the BIM implementation happens in our company. So we use it for developing the model. We do the design reviews. We do the class detection, studio documentation, develop the BIM execution plan. It's same like project execution plan. So for planning, we use it for 4D BIM, where you are linking the time plan with the model. You're able to do the simulation and see what time, what kind of development happens. We also use it for extracting the quantities from the model, which can be used for doing the cost calculations. For field activities, we use it for visualization. So here you see my boss, Mr. M.V. Satish, is a whole-time director for buildings and factories. He's using the HTC Vive device and able to experience the facility. Use it for 3D coordination, for site analysis, for site utilization planning, and also for 3D control and planning activities. We also use it for setting up the common data environment like design collaborations, document management, field BIM for model coordination activities. We also use it for immersive experiences. We use the virtual reality devices like HTC Vive and so on, augmented devices like HoloLens, mixed reality yet not in our company. These are type of devices which are usually available in the market like HTC Vive. We have this kind of HTC Vive in many of our project sites and also Microsoft HoloLens for site-based alignments because wearing this HoloLens, you can see you have your BIM model in the HoloLens and you are also visualizing the site. You are able to overimpose your site and the model and able to see the progress. And there also from Windows, you have mixed reality device. Oculus is there. So this is for design review within our projects. The left figure is from water treatment division. The right one is from some project site. And BIM for safety plays a major role even in our company because you're able to do the simulations and see what are the kind of possible hazards and able to use it for site safety training and take the precautions. There may be a need for fixing the barricade somewhere. Then when you have the safety planning softwares like Fuser, Synchro, what they do is it will give you the recommendation saying that these places you need to fix the barricades, these places you need to take some precautions. This is a crane movement happening, heavy lifting. The people movement should be restricted here. There's a device coming close to you at this kind of working. There are equipments moving. There are people moving on the site. A lot of simulations can be performed to take possible site precautions. And looking into the BIM strategy in our company, my role here is head of BIM strategy. That means I'm looking in understanding each of our independent companies or business units interest and what is the way forward, futuristic, next 3 to 4 years, what should be their developments. So we understand that with series of workshops and develop a strategy plan for them to uh, or align with it, and also support them in handholding through our trainings. We do have a BIM academy internally for doing a project specific trainings. So phase one, what I mean to say here is bringing all the different divisions. It may be procurement, supply chain, tendering, contracts, safety, quality division, design division, execution team. You want to make sure all these divisions understand BIM and their roles in BIM projects. And we are making sure that this kind of activation can happen in phase one, 2021 year. 2022, we want to make sure at least one type of project, for example, airports, metros, HSR, water treatment. For each of this project type, we want to have one project with all these divisions coming together, deliver BIM as a holistic BIM to start doing the POCs. Phase three is about activating our partners, selecting the partners who are aligned with BIM. Now, this is again our strategy, because when we say we are delivering a successful BIM project, if your partner is not aligned, maybe fabricator or a subcontractors, they're not aligned with the BIM, it becomes very difficult for delivering a successful BIM project or a matured BIM. So we want to make sure even the parties we select for our projects will be BIM aligned. This is our plan. We have series of meeting with our company CEO, board of directors, the heads of the divisions, and the project directors and the project managers to understand and take them further on these lines. So this is our company. We have these different divisions. We call them as independent companies. Buildings and factories deals with airports, metros, airports, healthcare, commercial, residential projects, this kind of projects. Transportation, infrastructure, heavy civil, power transmission, water treatment, metallurgical material handling, geostructures, smart word communications. These are the different independent companies come together as L&T Construction, and L&T Hydrocarbon, L&T Reality, LTI, all this, including L&T Construction, come as Lazan and Tubro. So we are developing a strategy plan for Lazan and Tubro as a whole, and we are having a series of workshops with these people. And each of these companies have their own separate divisions like CMPC, formwork, design, execution, planning, quality, safety. So it's important because BIM is not just for developing a model, it's also not for just execution. You need to have a planning team to do the planning and quantity surveying. You need to have a quality team to use the model for quality checks, safety people to use it for simulations, procurement and supply chain to use it for construction logistic planning, tendering and contracts people to bring in the BIM in the project execution plan and bid when bidding, formwork team and construction management people to do the temporary structure simulations. So all of these people have to do something on BIM, and getting them aligned for that is our phase one activity. And coming under the projects, integrated project delivery, we call it as a procurement method. We have a different procurement method still date, like design bid build, design build operate, construction manager at risk, public private partnership, this kind of different procurement method. But IPD is a new kind of procurement method coming globally out now when there's a BIM is a mandate that says key things like involve all the team members during the design phase, provide education on BIM for all the parties, and facilitate collaboration between all the people, set up contract mechanisms that enable open collaboration between them, and minimize the paper based drawings, and check and manage the interference between the trades digitally, create a culture of trust and sharing between the parties in the project, communicate design between them through the VR. Well, we do a lot of awareness sessions, being part of the national society and also being part of a company. We have a series of workshops and awareness sessions we do. And we have our L&T employees doing their masters in IIT Delhi, Madras, NIT Trichy, Surathkal. They have like 2 years masters and they finish that and they come back to us. We call it as a Build India scholarships. The candidates who get better grading during the first 2 years will be able to opt for this. They will be able to pitch in for two of these IITs or two of the NITs. And we want to make sure BIM is also provided education for them and also outside ecosystem. So we pitch in for different universities and provide the awareness. And this is a trainings happening from our BIM Academy in our academy. The left side, when you see the Chennai, that's from our BIM Academy Center. The Mumbai is a project site. It's a design site office. Kolkata is a design office. Bangalore, this is a Bangalore airport site office. Hyderabad, the airport office. This is Faridabad and the office in the L&T office. So there are a lot of trainings happens on day-to-day basis to make sure all our employees are getting aligned with them. Because if I have 40,000 employees in my company, and if you take out 20,000 people who are on the site engineers or site workers and this kind of thing, other 15 to 20,000 people are working in one of these divisions or one of the projects. So these people, everyone need to be trained and aligned to make sure that L&T is completely transformed for BIM. And we do have an experience center set up in our company. So what we do here is we bring in different people, the PGETs and so on, to activate and look in for the new initiatives and then implement for the projects. And looking into the market, there are three kind of job roles. One is technical jobs in BIM, second is managerial jobs in BIM, third is strategic jobs. Because what happens in the market is currently many people think BIM is a software and they're all focusing on the technical jobs. And within that, people think BIM is for design and they focus on BIM for design. They go developing a model, using it for drawings, this kind of activities only. But within BIM for technical, you have 15 to 20 softwares which comes into picture. But all the software vendors on BIM combined, you have 300 plus softwares available in the market. It's also there are some open BIM solutions, some are closed BIM solutions. That means if I do software model development in one software for modeling from Autodesk, I cannot use it for planning from Bentley software because Autodesk is a closed BIM. The same way, there are some vendors who are open BIM like Acker, Bexel, and there are some softwares where close BIM. I don't want to name all the vendor names, but it's very much important for you to make a decision what kind of softwares you're going to use for implementation. What is your role in the projects? Because you no need to learn the planning or even estimation or operations activities. You have set of softwares for your job role you need to learn. And frankly speaking, currently the jobs supply versus demand, the technical supply, technical capable team supply is high in the market and demand is low. That's why most of the BIM startups or companies what we have in Indian market, they're providing BIM services to almost 60 to 70 countries now. They, if you speak to any BIM person in any companies, they will say, I do BIM project for so and so country, so and so project. That is because we get cheap labor in our country, which may be one fifth to one fifth or one tenth of the salary what they need to pay in the global market. So what they do is they send out such products to Indian market since it's a cheap labor and we are a manpower who just follow what has been told. So that is the kind of team we have in the market. But looking at the jobs and the salaries is very minimal in this kind of thing. People are maybe earning 20, 30,000 or maybe 40, 50, something in this line. And with more experience, probably 50, 60 or 80. Managerial jobs are like a project manager, design manager, construction manager, facility manager. But these people should be able to understand softwares, workflows, deliverables, understand the client requirements, and align the technical team on those lines. Here, the supply and demand is almost equal. We have the right number of people for managerial job roles in Indian market. Coming to the strategic, which is more of a leadership, because if you see the small scale, mid scale, large scale companies, when the client mandate is coming saying that BIM is the way forward for us, then each of these companies need to transform. If it's a big company, L&T, then it's supporting companies and the project management consultants. Everyone in the ecosystem need to transform. When they need to transform, they need to set the strategies for the company for the way forward in BIM. And a company cannot activate BIM in a 1 year, 6 months. It takes its own way, maybe depending on the size of the company and the activity or alignments of the team. For companies like our size, it may take 4 to 5 years minimum for the transformation. If it's a very small scale company, maybe 30 to 40 employees, it may take 5 to 6 months. So planning out what are the steps we do, what is the kind of investments we need to do, because at the end, every quarterly you need to have a plan. What is that initiatives you're going to take to activate BIM in your company? So there are no much of people to support on these strategic lines in the market. The supply is very very minimal, and the demand is high these days because every company need to transform. There are no strategic leadership team available. If you speak to any BIM people, they say, I know this software, I can work on this, I know how to manage this workflow. They're just limited to project level, they're not able to deal at organization level. So this is one of the challenge. If maybe people focus on the strategic lines, it will help. Even in the terms of salaries, if I say X is the salary in technical, managerial is 2 to 3x, and strategics is 5 to 10x salary. Now, there are people getting 1 crore to 3 crore also in the market as a strategic line. It's not always to have heavy experience to do this. It's all about futuristic. So you should know how to do things, and this is the kind of job market. Looking into the, I just was looking into this image. It's about US university rank by number of graduating startups founders. You see, most of the top universities, they're not looking for jobs, the students. After they finish their graduation or whatever the PhD or the masters, their main focus is on having a startup. And looking into each of these universities, you can see number of startups coming in, like Stanford, MIT, 400 to 500 to 20, 30 startups. Where do we see this kind of graph in our country, in our universities? No matter it may be School of Planning and Architecture, or it may be SET or IIT, it may be Architecture Indian schools. Where do we see the startups? Because most of us are only looking for jobs. We are not looking for activating things. Down the line, what I want to convey here is BIM has a lot of potential to have startups. There's a lot of new services coming in the market which need to be delivered, and the startups can focus on that and can grow very quickly. And this is my brief on the BIM and mega infrastructure. And any discussion or queries, welcome.
Thank you, sir. We are open for any kind of a discussion, guys. Anyone would like to have any point discussed? I think so. So I think Sanjay Srivastava sir has something to say. So please
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, Amarnath, it was a very nice talk, very thorough. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh, I've got one question. You are heading this BIM association.
Mhm.
Uh, if my institute or if any institute desires to become a part of that, what
Okay.
is the way forward?
Okay.
And if a student coming out of architecture desires to become a part of that, what is the way forward? So
Okay.
how do we? Because I think that you have skipped in your talk.
Uh, okay, I didn't want much of promotion, so I didn't speak on that.
Yeah, but that
But
is
since you're asking,
important
I will give you the
because your
clarity on
talk
that.
naturally wants leads us to the point that how do we become a part of this society?
Perfect. I will be able to give you brief on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
please.
1 second. Let me share the screen. If you just go India BIM Association on the Google, you'll find this page for our society, and we have memberships here, membership types. We have associate membership for people who just want to take benefits from the society, professional membership who want to be part of the society and also be part of consulting through the society, any kind of neutral consulting, maybe for audits of the projects or handholding kind of thing. This is for students. We have a membership. We have institutional membership. This is for universities. So once they join hands, this is all one-time membership. There is no yearly kind of thing. All of these are one-time membership. For universities, I will come to that. What is the benefits? For corporates, we have different membership for the size of the company, starting from 10 employees size to the 500 and above. So all the forms are available here. Just download and need to send it to our email info@ibima. If you ask me about institutional, what is the benefit? So even the benefits we have listed here, looking into, for example.
Before you proceed with the benefits for the institution, could you please answer or look into the issue because you are heading this institute? The membership fee for the students is rather high.
It's a
So,
3,000. 3,000.
okay, 3,000 is okay. I thought it was 30,000. So
No,
that's okay.
3,000 is for professionals who want to be a consultant for the society, and it's one time. So
So
don't need to
ultimately, the
pay.
graduate students will become professionals, no?
Yeah, they want to become professional. They need to again become a professional membership. Student membership is only until they're student. But I
Okay,
want to continue. I'm doing bachelor's. I will do masters. I will do PhD. I will do postdoc. Till that, we consider them as a student.
okay, good. So I'm doing my doctorate now at 62 years of age. So I'm a student.
Okay, sir. Then you will get student benefits from that. Not a problem. You're welcome. I think you also do consulting. Then you need to look for consulting membership. Sir, coming to the institutional membership, usually what happens is we have defined basic curriculum which will be able to help you out and can be diffused as part of your curriculum. And also, we have the experts who can take the sessions online for those sessions because the major challenge is the faculty may not have aligned with BIM. So it becomes maybe you want to have a faculty development program for your own university faculties, that kind of things. And also they organize the sessions from the IBIM vendors. And also it will be you want to collaborate with us for launching any certification programs like you have developed some master diploma in BIM. Now you want to make a business in the market, then we will be part for that certification as a society, but we want to make sure the contents and deliverables are all aligned with the requirements. We have our own honorary board. Just 1 minute. So we have our board which will check about the quality of the contents and then support you for that, and we'll be able to do joint events, these kind of things. I think it's clearly listed. I just need to go to membership types and benefits and just need to fill that application and send it to us, and our board will review and get back to you with the update, and then bring you on board. And another benefit is being a professional in the market. It may be very challenging for you to get the right set of people if you want to do any project or you want a set of organization. We as a community, we have the connects to all the BIM companies in the market, and many of them are part of the including technology vendors, service providers, universities. They are part of that, so it becomes easy for you to connect with other people and also activate any services you want to do. So these are the kind of benefits you generally have. We have an invitation here. Just click on the membership invitation. You get the invitation detail for the memberships. This is our board. So we we have also the honorary board people from global market to support us on these things. It's a good initiative. And also one more person is part of our board is Dr. Chandrasekhar. He is an architect and he has done a PhD in healthcare architecture. So we have a good set of people to support. Yeah, this is our community. Currently, we have a reach of up to 40,000 people from 65 countries, and all these are BIM people, Indians, located in different regions. Any other question?
Would anyone want to quote any question to sir, to Amarnath sir? So I think there are no more questions now.
Okay.
Uh, okay, so we are really thankful to you, sir. Thank you. It was very in-depth. It was a very enlightening seminar in a way. The essence of our quadrants was to kind of document, over the 70 years, what are the changes Indian architectural fraternity has seen. And going back to the first event where we saw how the drawings were made at the time of initial um, independent era and at the time of Corbusier, and coming down to this where architects also need to have that futuristic and integrated holistic approach towards construction. The point that you told about some people taking BIM just for the design part of it and not understanding how it could be expanded further to the technical, managerial, and to the strategic outlook. I'm sure it will help all our participants to understand the present scenario of the construction industry. And being an architect, definitely understanding all those trades of the industry, we could explore more of the BIM technology. Thank you, sir.
I like
Thank you.
to add on,
Yeah,
ma'am,
sure, sir. Sure, sure.
because one thing, when you strategically have an understanding about different softwares, there is a software, for example, Revit. Many people will be knowing. Per license will cost you per year 1.2 to 1.5 lakhs. There's also another software, OpenBIM solution, which will cost you 10 to 12,000 per year, and it's a monthly subscriptions. So it's BIM is not expensive. It's all about how you strategically plan out your projects, and it's also monthly subscriptions are there because many people think back because it says softwares are expensive. You need to have a heavy workstations. Nothing like that. You have everything available. The only thing is we should not always go behind the people who are around us. We should explore the things. What are the other items also available? And there's also some courses if you are interested. Maybe you can connect back to me on WhatsApp, and I will be able to give you the guidance on maybe if you have a startups or maybe you have your companies. That kind of courses will help you. So this is my WhatsApp number. Anything you want, I can help you out. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you for COA and BMS College, and also for the audience for giving me this opportunity. And
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate that you still took time for us, and we wish you the best of the health. And now I will request our director, Dr. Mamta Piraj, ma'am, ma'am, are you there? So I think, can you please unshare your screen, Amarnath, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, Shubhra, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So may I please welcome you again, ma'am, back to the session. And you may.
Yeah, good afternoon once again to all the participant, resource person. I'm sorry, due to certain technical glitches, the initial part of the session I could not join. On behalf of Council of Architecture and BMS College of Architecture, I would once again extend a very warm welcome to both the resource persons, Dr. Amarnath and Shri Sanjay Srivastava, who are here today. And the first session was very interesting. Of course, I joined a little late, but could get the glimpses of it and could connect to the talk, and very informative session. And thank you so much, Dr. Amarnath, for the information that was shared with us on this platform. And also to all the participants from various parts of the country who are here for the last part of the quadrant session. I'm sure you enjoyed the first session, and we'll be moving on to the second part of the session. That's from architect Sanjay Srivastava. To begin with, Shubhra was insisting that I need to make the introduction of the speakers, and I consider it as a privilege on this particular platform to introduce the second resource person of this program, Shri Sanjay R. Srivastava. Sanjay R. Srivastava is an architect and urban planner with CE program and project management from IIT Kharagpur. He has served as Joint Honorary Secretary of the Indian Institute of Architects MP chapter, member on the board of National IT Committee, and a member on the Publication Board of Indian Institute of Architects, a member secretary on the board of National Conference Convention and Awards Committee for standardizing procedures and conduct of conferences, conventions, and awards, and a visiting professor at Disaster Management Institute, DMI, Bhopal. Architect Srivastava has provided consultancy on many architectural and planning projects and possesses a vast and diverse design experience in the private sector, corporate sector, with DLF and Reliance, and in the government sector with projects in housing and large urban development, urban planning, and smart city. He holds several awards and honor like Sri M. Vishweshwaraya Prize for project of rehabilitation of earthquake affected villages in Kutch, Gujarat, hosted by HUTCO and Sri Hariom Ashram Trust. Award of honor by uh, Jan Parishad for his work in the field of rural architecture. An award of honor was bestowed by International Copper Promotion Council India and the Indian Institute of Architects Bhopal Center for promotion of safety in buildings and disaster management systems. He was honored by the Chief Minister Shri Babulal Gaur, Government of Madhya Pradesh, for his contributions and efforts in beautification of Bhopal city. Architect Srivastava has affiliations to various professional and academic bodies. He is in the advisory board of Urban Infra Expo 2011-12, member panelist on Growth Innovation and Leadership Congress, organized by Frost and Sullivan, executive speaker in the second Tall Buildings India Summit, and member panelist with Mr. Joseph Colaco. He's been a keynote speaker in international conference on building information management systems, first EPC and second EPC project management, VIP lecture at Design Summit 2015 by Economic Times. He has written several papers and presentations on barrier-free architecture, earthquake-resistant architecture and urban planning, methods, leads, IGBC, Griha criteria for green buildings. A very warm welcome to you, sir, onto this platform, and eagerly waiting to listen from your end and to share your experiences.
Okay. Let me take this mask off first of all. Thank you for a very nice intro. To be here and sharing a little bit of my thoughts about where we are going, where we are. You have had a very long session of, this is the fourth session of your quadrants, and in each of these quadrants you have systematically looked at various phases of time. So in my discussion with Dr. Professor Shubhra, I have been talking about that I shall address what is now going to happen in the near future. Where do we stand vis-a-vis that, so that our students and our fraternity can relook at the issues that we face. We are always thinking in terms of design of structures and the beautiful buildings and functionality and aesthetics, and also now more and more focused on economics and energy efficiencies and ecologically friendly building. But this one little incident 1 year ago, kind of a disaster that has struck us, has shown to us that we need to relook at many of our things, many of our viewpoints, and I do not have any solutions on those, but I'm still working and I'm still researching as a long journey as an architect for the last 40 years in the private field, and in the corporate with Reliance for around 12 years. After that, I am now into academics as director, MET Moradabad, Faculty of Architecture. I try to look at the various players and the various contributions that we could be making. So we'll begin with this. I'll actually now hand over. I'll start with my presentation. I think I have not. Can you hear me? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me?
So we can hear you. We can hear you. We are waiting for your slides to be.
Is the slide now visible? Can you please confirm that?
Not yet,
Is
sir.
the slide now visible? Because not yet. Okay. So I think Shubha, we'll have to go back and do this little activity that we had done in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes. Yes.
I go to this little. It says stop sharing. Okay. So I'll say now share content. Okay,
Right,
that's
sir.
what I have to do. So share content, and then I go back and then I select the screen that I have to share.
Yes, sir. Just include computer sound. Just include computer sound in the palette.
Okay. I'll do that once again. So share screen. Computer sound you taught me a little while ago. This is the problem with people, they forget.
No
So
problem, sir.
now computer sound is also. Now you can see the PowerPoint.
Um,
Can you see
Sir,
the PowerPoint?
not yet, sir. It's loading, sir. I think 1 second. It might take time.
Ah,
Rachna, is it visible to you? The
No,
not yet, sir.
no, Shubhra. No, sir, not yet.
Okay, sir, it's visible now.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Kindly make it full screen, sir. It is visible now.
It is visible now. Okay.
Yes.
From beginning. Is that visible now to everybody?
It is loading, sir. It will be visible.
So I'll wait for a second.
Yes.
Despite all the speed and all the technology that we have at our fingertips, you will observe that now I have a 4G connection here, and this is on a hotspot,
Yeah.
and I've got a Wi-Fi connection specially installed at Shubhra's, prodding an initiative. However, when it comes to the crunch, all this technology tends to fail.
No, now it's working,
So
sir.
is it now?
It is working, sir. It is working.
There is no
Yeah.
need for me to be very disappointed. Huh? There is
Yes.
no need. It's just that I've got to learn to be more patient.
It's working, sir. It's working. Thank you, sir.
Right. So you will see that on the first slide we have got an old owl sitting there, right? And I say that I'm looking at the future through the eyes of an owl. And what we are looking at is the interface of architecture, society, and science. So this is more of a thought-provoking lecture, or a lecture that questions what we are doing and seeks to find answers or ways. So Shubhra had asked me why an owl. In fact, I think the head of the department also, she had asked me why an owl. So because an owl is a symbol of wisdom, is able to see where there is no light, and is a survivor in adverse circumstances. That is why an owl. And an owl in our country is variedly known as a wise creature, or somebody who brings riches. Riches in this case is riches or richness in your life. So thoughts and ideas bring richness in your life. An owl represents or is the vehicle for goddess Saraswati. Right? Like I said in the beginning, our lives have turned topsy-turvy in the last 1 year. The world as we know it is now threatened and changing fast. As architects who are responsible for making this physical shape of this world, we need to question our understanding and redefine our objectives. I have therefore divided my talks into 3 parts. One part covers architecture, another covers the interface of architecture at the face of the city, and a little bit of science. And I place before you what has been happening recently in the world and leave it at that for you to find your path forward. Part 1 is about architecture. anticipating the future of architecture from the works of recent parts. Now, we have been, for example, I started my education and we were learning education in the sense architecture education. We were learning about Frank Lloyd Wright and uh, Le Corbusier and other greats of the Bauhaus school. Now the children are learning about a younger troop of architects. So I have touched upon one of the youngest one, and here we are talking about the Seed Pavilion, uh, and I have somewhere written his name, and which I forget. We are interpreting from the works of the recent young and creative masters. Now he is a master and is a very young master. He is also a TED Talk speaker. One such project that he has built is the Seat Pavilion, which houses more than 60,000 seats ensconced in acrylic tubes. Now you will hear these words and you will say they are not eco-friendly materials. But today we have, if you see and if you observe carefully, you have, with one press of a button, in within a week we have all moved back to using a lot of polythene and plastics because they can be sanitized, and we are, again running away from paper and cloth and natural eco-friendly materials. The building that he has built is actually only made of this element which sways in the wind and interacts with light so that each seed is specially visible and seen as an enlarged entity in natural light. I will not read out further from here. It's a very different way of visualizing a building, and so I'll share with you this little clip. And it will take a second to load, like we know that there's a problem.
Sir, the video sound, is it mute? Sanjay sir? Sanjay sir, the video sound. Uh, Sir?
Shubhra, do you want to call him?
I think there is no sound in the video because I can see some. Sanjay sir?
There was a lot of
Yeah, so there was no the sound of the video was not audible, sir. Does the video have any background sound with it?
yeah, there was a background music.
Only a no, that was not audible, sir. Was it? Can you play it again, the video?
I can, actually the music part is not really relevant. It's
Okay,
just an
okay.
instrument.
No problem.
The whole
Then we can. Then we can.
so again, what I'll do is I'll look at this sharing option once again and
Right,
see whether the sound control did not start. Okay.
right.
So if you have seen, uh, can we just okay? So now I'll go back to the next one. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can
Okay,
hear
okay,
you.
okay. So we saw this building, and this was a pavilion. Of course, it was an award-winning pavilion, and it is one of the 5, 10 leading projects that he has done. It has set a new direction in the thinking. The issue that it was talking about was how to build a safe tomorrow. That's one question that is, topmost in our mind. How to make people safe, how to preserve what we have got. These are the three questions that this building asked 10 years ago. And the idea emerged from the architect himself. The UK government had invited him to make a pavilion which would represent UK, or Great Britain. He came up with the idea that instead of trying to represent one country, we should represent the effort done by that country to, for the benefit of the world. So at that point of time, there was this effort going on to collect and catalog the flora and fauna that exists. So there was a huge collection, and there is a huge collection which they have got there in Britain. And out of that, the spare 60,000 seeds were given to him, which he then took, and then he created a building around this. So what is it that I'm trying to say through this? That architecture and architects need to think through, because the units where people live are created by architects, or by whatever architects do, and then it is replicated or imitated by others who might not be architects, or who might not be able to afford the services of architects, or who are beyond the reach of architects. So there is a role that we are willy-nilly playing in affecting the life of the people. That is one thing. It may seem very big, it may seem very aspirational, but in a way it's true. Unless we realize that responsibility, we really will not be able to make a fruitful contribution to the society. Another project that has been done by Stefano Bori in Milan, that is the Bosco Verticale, and you have all, of course, seen it and heard about it. And this is a small clip again from Mr. Stefano himself. And okay, so here it is. Again, you will not be able to hear the sound. So let me hold on for a second, come back, and then see if I can give you the sound. Okay. So we
Yes, sir.
came here. Okay. So couldn't share system. Okay, it says system audio sharing was stopped because of an error. Okay. Let's see if I can do that again.
Right, sir.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Please be patient. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Include computer sound. I have clicked it on,
Yes, sir.
Shubhra,
Yes, sir.
and then I say that. Uh, okay, and what do I do now?
Now you click on screen one or your PPT, which is already open.
Okay, which is already open. So here I am, and we go here and we click here. So, can you hear it now?
Um,
No?
Not yet, sir.
No?
So you have to click on screen one after you say include computer sound. You click on screen one, and then you maximize the PPT which you have open on your
I would like to put on record that you have a lot of patience.
screen.
Thank you very much. So I have, what I've done is, okay, I've done this, and then I've clicked there, and then I have come to this, and I'll go back, and then I'll say play.
Right,
No,
right,
I should go full screen first,
yes,
right?
right, sir.
From the current slide. It's so difficult working with old people, you know.
No, sir, not at all, sir. We are getting the vision. It's working, sir.
Oh,
Well, exactly 5 years ago, the 14th of October 2014, we opened the vertical floor to the first tenants, the families that are entering in the building. And well, I could say that now we start to consider this experiment as a kind of successful experiment. The first trees were entering 7 years ago, and now after 7 years of trees living here, of 5 years of people, inhabitants, tenants living here, we could say that the capacity of the building to absorb CO2 and transform it in oxygen, the capacity of this building to clean the air of Milan, absorbing the dust of the urban pollution, the multiplication of species. All this means that we are very proud. It's so rare in the life of an architect to see the result of such an experimental building, and I'm very proud of how this building is representative for Milano, but I'm also very proud because I think that we are now replicating this concept of a building who introduce living nature not only as a decoration but as a basic component of its life, where we are reproducing this and regenerating and interpreting this concept in many other parts of the world. In China, in Holland, where we are building the first social housing, vertical forest, so a building will be affordable for everybody. In Belgium, in France, in Mexico, in Northern Africa, in India. Well, in many other parts of the world, we are trying to redesign and interpret the story of the vertical forest. And this is probably something which makes what we have done important and makes us so proud. Thank you so much.
so you can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was another attempt of integrating nature and climate, and you heard the word China and you heard the word India there. So Stefano was telling us that these projects are going on in various parts of the world. But the Chinese project, if I am right, only 3 weeks ago, I believe, I learned that has failed miserably because only 10% of the occupants moved in, and it was overridden by mosquitoes and flies. And so a model that is developed in one part of the world may not succeed in another part of the world. So there are no universal models. There are universal issues and there are universal problems, but there are no universal solutions. Solutions have to be rooted to the ground and rooted to the climate and rooted to the soil. So while we may be inspired by some of these projects, we need to see whether they can be realistically brought to reality and successfully run their life. In the previous lecture, we heard about BIMs, where we were told that building information modeling, the third stage is the entire life of the building. The third, where at which level, at which platform we have not yet reached. There are no projects going on in India at the third level, as the speaker said. So, as architects, as thinkers, As artists, as creators of spaces, we need to understand these two different approaches. One purely aesthetic or expressionistic, and the second based on nature, climate, ecology, and energy conscious, sustainable, balanced. Examples of these second kind will show success and failure, both because architecture is a result of demand and supply economics, as I was just talking about what happened in China. You see this beautiful development that has taken place, lovely buildings, is all submerged by the river and the sea. This is an example of China, the environmental collapse. So, as men, we do not know, and I'll not say the women here because the women are generally more intelligent than men, but as men, we do not know where we have got to stop. And we are always getting these things wrong. This is the information about which has been overrun by mosquitoes. It's again a very small video, right? So, as I reduced that clip because there was no point, but you would have observed that the plants in the building in Milan were very different from the plants that were used in Chengdu. The point here is that we need to be very conscious about imitating also. This image, I am sure that many of you would be able to recollect. I will talk about this image in a little while, but this is where we stand today. We are all living in a bubble, and this bubble is this bubble was visualized by Buckminster Fuller a couple of decades, I think 6 or 7 decades ago. Today, the bubble that we live in is a very different bubble. For example, there is a bubble around me that is created by my handphone. And there is a bigger bubble around me which is created by my Wi-Fi instrument. There is a still bigger bubble around me which is created by the area that I can visit on my foot. And a still bigger bubble which is defined by the area which I can traverse by my car in a comfortable driving of say 10-15 minutes. There's a bubble of information around me. There's a bubble of health facilities around me. So, for example, in this pandemic, I was wondering which would be the ideal hospital for me to go to, just in case there was a problem. So, everything around us actually defines the space around us and how we are going to interact with it. So, as architects, we also therefore need to step out of our buildings and see what is the size of our bubble in various contexts. We understand cities only through the experience of them on roads and in public places. And very few of us actually go beyond to look at the numbers, the complexity, or understand that the city itself is a living being. This is the area where I'm doing my PhD, where the city actually now becomes a living being, which has a body made up of both inanimate buildings, roads, sewers, and the animate parts, which is the human beings, or the moving parts, which are the trucks and the buses and the cars. That it is a pseudo living organism that actually houses millions of living life forms. Besides its insects and mosquitoes and birds and bees and lizards and whatnot. For example, I have recently moved from Mumbai to this place where I was living in Mumbai. The leopard used to come out of the forest area, the central forest area that we have in Mumbai, and actually used to stroll in the Hiranandani estate or the area where I used to live. Now, obviously, the residents, numbering around 2 lakhs, were up in arms. They said that, you have to either shoot the leopard or you have to, bound it off or you have to close it down and you have to make us safe. But what all of them forgot was that at some point of time, this was the leopard's walking area. And as its population grows into that forest area or into that park, so called, it will always stretch out and mark its own land. So these are the things, these are the conflicts that we always talk about in our classrooms, but we never really experience or really visualize when we are doing these projects. So here I'll share with you now another little clip about a new city which is being constructed right now, but to which my mind beats the total logic of cities which I have seen till date. I say that it beats the logic of my mind, which is not to say that it is wrong, it is only beyond my comprehension. The city I am talking about is Neom, a Saudi vision for 2030. The city was announced by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and it plans to call for robots to perform functions such as security, logistics, home delivery, caregiving. The whole idea is that the whole package is hugely money oriented. Saudi Arabia has got lots of cash, lots of money from oil, and before the oil runs out, either as a resource from the ground or before the world stops using oil as a source for powering itself and it uses economic value, Saudi Arabia is trying to create an economic hub for itself. So that's the goal that they have. So this is the, again, I'll have to check whether the sound is coming or not. Should I go back and...
No, sir, you can just play and it should
So
come.
you'll confirm. Yeah, you'll confirm, please.
Yes.
170 kilometers through Neom, starting from the coast, stretching through the desert and mountains.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes, sir, it's coming.
Okay, thank you very much.
And ending in the region's upper valley. It will be a belt-shaped city spanning 170 kilometers through Neom, starting from the coast, stretching through the desert and mountains, and ending in the region's upper valley. It will be a belt of individual city modules connected by infrastructure. These modules will have a futuristic urban design composed of 3 layers. The pedestrian layer will be a continuous landscape of buildings surrounded by green areas with no cars and no streets. This will ensure a green living environment with no pollution or traffic accidents. It will be webbed with walkways, bike paths, and sustainable food production facilities. Its design will ensure that all daily needs are within a 5-minute walk. Beneath all this will be the service layer.
I have just stopped here for a second to interrupt. That did you hear him saying that there would be no streets, no cars, and only bikes and pedestrian pathways, and everything else is going underground. So I hope that all of you have heard that, and we'll now proceed to
a hidden layer of infrastructure that will transport goods, enable technology, and power the city. Lastly, on the bottom will be the spine layer, which will have tunnels with high-speed trains, a metro, and AI-controlled passenger vehicles. This transportation will allow the entire city to be traversed in only 20 minutes. The line will be split among 4 distinct ecologies, with an average temperature 10 degrees Celsius or 18 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the rest of Saudi Arabia. The first will be the coastal sector, which will serve as a tourist destination with beautiful beaches, islands, and nature reserves. The second will be the coastal desert, which will serve as a major transport crossroads for the city and a solar generation center. The third will be the mountains, which will be the least developed and populated, but will serve as a center for hiking, climbing, and extreme sports. Lastly, the upper valley will have wind turbines and supply chain and logistics connections to the nearby city of Tabuk and the rest of Saudi Arabia. The line will be monitored by artificial intelligence. According to NEOM, 90% of available data will be utilized by AI to improve transport efficiency, cleanliness, security, water management, and many other systems. The city's water will come from desalination plants. In January 2020, NEOM signed a deal with the UK-based company Solar Water plc to build the world's first ever solar dome desalination plant. Finally, the city will be environmentally friendly. It will run entirely on solar panels and wind farms, and its buildings, by having lots of plants, will be carbon positive, meaning that they will actually net absorb CO2. Meanwhile, the city's design will protect 95% of the region's nature. When finished, the line will host 1 million people and will cost 100 to 200 billion US dollars, around 1/3 of NEOM's total cost. This money will come from the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund, along with international investors. The line will create 380,000 new jobs, adding 180 billion Saudi riyals, or $48 billion to the country's nominal GDP by 2030. That is a 6% increase from its GDP in 2019. The city will be within a 4-hour flight from 40% of the world's population and will sit right along one of the world's busiest shipping routes, making it a strategic trade hub. Lastly, it will serve as a feat of human technology and engineering, as part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 program. However, despite its grand visions, the project has several issues. First of all, because the city is a long, narrow band, locations will naturally be further apart. Even with high-speed transportation, this is inefficient. In addition, the city will traverse directly through mountains, forcing it to be split in two. Furthermore, some people are concerned about the large amount of AI sensors and face-detecting cameras impeding on citizens' privacy. Moreover, with it being so expensive, there are concerns that the city will only be accessible to the wealthy, increasing inequality. Not to mention, many people believe the project is too ambitious. Will 1 million people really move to a sparsely populated region of desert in northwest Saudi Arabia? On top of all this, some believe the money could be better spent elsewhere, for example on improving Saudi Arabia's already existent cities. Lastly, the city will displace thousands of native people. There have already been forced evictions, and in April 2020, an activist was killed, raising humanitarian concerns. Despite these issues, the city is planned to start construction in the first quarter of 2021 and be finished over the coming years. After this, the larger NEOM megacity will rise from the desert. According to NEOM CEO Nadmi Al-Nasr, the majority of master plans for this larger city will be announced in 2021. If completed, the line.
So we heard that there would be residential areas developed along the line, and actually the entire road and the fast movement, 20 minutes, 170 kilometers across. If you are building human settlements and they are separated by space, physical space, but they are brought together by a small amount of time required to traverse between, do we still call it a city? Is it a city, or is it a group of developments which are otherwise standing alone? For example, the heat. With the development of this kind of a city, would the heat in that region come down? That will not happen. And therefore, when the people are facing the ravages of nature, would they be alone or in a group? Or are they only dependent on the railway line or the motor road for them to move from one disastrous point to another point which is more livable? So some of these questions have not been asked. Excuse me for a second. So these are some of the questions, but you will be surprised that this has been in thought and developed. They have signed agreements, and with companies like Bentel and Bechtel, and some of these companies I've worked very closely with, and it's on, and it's running through a topographically very raw land, very raw land where nature remains in its pristine beauty or in its original state. Just a second. Hello. हेलो कौन अंदर डिलीवर करिए आप फोन पर बात नहीं कर सकते I'm sorry for the interruption because he would have continued to call time and again. Right? So all these companies, you know, the best and the wisest of the companies on the earth, for example, Google, Alibaba and Amazon have all boasted their presence in the kingdom and they are all now entering into a partnership with this. So it defies logic. Now, another point that we have with cities is, or with human habitation is, that we need to strike some kind of a balance. In the last decade or so, we have been hearing a lot about climate control, ecological disasters, striking a balance between the green and the built spaces, green and the brown spaces as we call them in our college, right? The idea of a Miyawaki urban forest has now taken root in India and it is being attempted in around 30 or 40 places that I personally know of. One of them is in Lucknow, where since students and the faculty of Manet, Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology are also here, part of this lecture. The Commissioner of Lucknow, Mukesh Meshram, is leading the initiative of establishing a Miyawaki urban forest in and around Lucknow. So we will look at this and we have just seen some of the pictures of Milan where the only greenery that we saw was on those two forest buildings, or the name was Vertical, the forest Vertical, Bosco Vertical as he called it. And so and when we saw the video of the Saudi Arabian land, we saw again there was no greenery, no forest, no nature per se, except the raw land. So only the platform is there. Life per se does not exist. So I think fourth video, I'll give it a click, and I'm sure we'll be able to hear it this time around.
Hello all, lovely morning. As you can see, we are standing next to a lake and here you can see thousands of saplings which are planted. This is the Miyawaki method of plantation. This was
The video is not
conceptualized by...
audible. So the video is not audible, is not visible. Rachna, is the video visible to you?
No, Shubhra. Only it
Sanjay,
was audible.
yeah. Sanjay sir? So now the video is visible, but the sound is.
I think there is a lag.
Let's see. I have just now muted the sound. Issue. There's a parcel outside. There was a lag in the sound. Let me go back and try and.
Yes, sir. I think the video sound is on mute.
No, the video sound, I have muted it just now so that I could talk to you.
Okay.
Can you hear it now? Just a second. Can you hear it?
No, so we can't hear the audio. The video is seen.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. I think this every time we do this, we share.
So I think it's some internet feed issue.
No, because no. It has to be. Uh, let's go to this. No, the point is that I have again lost. Okay. So we have to come back.
Yes, sir.
We have to share,
Hmm.
include the total sound,
Right, sir.
and then you go back and click here on the. Tell me if you can hear now.
Yes.
It will start in a second.
Yes, sir. So the screen is not visible.
Okay. Screen is not visible.
Hello, all.
So the slide is not visible. I mean the audio was audible, but when you
Of plantation, conceptualized by
um, so once you share it and click on make computer audio audible, include computer sound, then you would have to. Yeah, now it's showing, sir. Now it's showing. Now it's visible, so you can play it now.
Yeah, I'm playing it now. It is saying sharing. Can you hear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, great.
So it's actually getting stuck, the video and as well as the audio. So maybe we can just skip the video if maybe some buffering issues are there. So if we can skip the video.
I think we'll let that go because all of us understand what the Miyawaki forest is. So there is no. The whole idea was that these are basically again like that building that we started off in the beginning, the seed capital, where 10,000 saplings and 53 native species can be planted in a very small plot of land. You can see on this slide that there is this very small plot of land. It is only as wide as the building is. It should be around 80 or 100 feet wide. And then there is this little piece of land in front. And finally, it goes into a. But now the question is that people are becoming more and more scared that when you have plants, you've got insects, and you've got mosquitoes, and you've got this, and you've got with the flora, you've got the fauna, and with the fauna, you've got, the bats, and with the bats, you've got the virus. So now there is a whole new thought process going on. People would want to live in an isolated world. Now, therefore, we also need to understand the science of the whole thing and as to how the world goes. And there are a couple of very nice and lovely videos, and we don't have the time to go into all that, about how the world is going to be, say, 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now, and say 20,000 years from now. And you will see that the way we are going, if we are able to project the trajectory of our path, we are going actually on a very disastrous path. But that is for some other day and some other time. And at present, I would just like to state that this is how we as a society and cities function if we are reduced, if we were to reduce our activities to bare numbers and connections. So we live in houses and we live at some distance, and then there is a city. We have got the central points where everybody comes to work, or whether these could be, your points of transportation, bus stands, railway stations, or your taxi stands. And now the entire thing, when it is mapped in terms of activities by people and things, which means it is now devoid of certain characteristics, but embedded and evaluated on the basis of certain other characteristics. You will find that a lot of change is happening, and you get a very different view of the world that you are living in. Reduced to bare numbers and devoid of other characteristics, we are no more or less than an organism at a very basic level, right? And when we say organism, these are the kind of things or images that come up to you. If you were to model Mumbai, it would probably come out, instead of this one spine, it will come out with two spines like this, right? So here we come to the last point, but our lives are now getting into a bubble, and through this fear and change, we need to find a new way, and that way is through a series of connected bubbles. And the first bubble is our personal bubble in which we have to live. The family and the house is the second. And we are now going to be traveling in travel pods. And those travel pods are not going to be your personal vehicles. They are now going to be publicly owned, available to you on the telephone, and driverless vehicles. That is where the world is going on. And you will be probably working from another pod. We now have hotels which are like pods on the railway stations and at the airports in expensive cities like Hong Kong, where you cannot go out of the airport, or you cannot afford to go out of the airport and come back in time and sleep overnight. Right? So, and a community bubble for each stage. So we come back to this image by Buckminster Fuller, who wanted to put a shell over a large city and contain the air, purify the air, keep the environment cool and controlled. So we are now, as I come to this concluding part of my lecture, putting a whole city under a dome and providing contained, controlled environment. That is where I asked the question today. We have come a full circle, and our relationship with nature and natural organisms is under review. How close are we, and how far have we come now? Right? I will jump through this, and I'll jump through this. But the more we try to control nature, the more it controls us, till freedom is no longer about your freedom. It is now synonymous with control. See, we believe that our freedom comes from controlling things. So I'll repeat that. The more we try to control nature, the more it controls us, till freedom is no longer about your freedom. It is now synonymous with your being able to control things. How much control you can exert on other things is the question that I leave you with. Right? So with that, I would like to end my talk. I've just skipped one more video because we were encountering a lot of problems with the videos. You have heard about it. These are tall buildings in which we have mobile or dynamic facade systems which open and close to permit light and air. So that was with respect to how much control you are able to exercise on everything. And the cost of control is what I was discussing in that video. The cost of controlling everything is rising by the day and becoming more and more exorbitant. With that, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I hope that this is of some use, some relevance, and that maybe it will trigger a small thought in your mind and help you define and look forward, find some solutions to this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your
Pleasure is
expert
mine.
talk. Actually, we really can take away the points. I mean, the way you had structured your talk, where we first see those fascinating things, futuristic things coming up, and then analyzing them from a micro level of a residence to the city and further to the entire global scenario where you're talking about the bubble and the networks around us. Definitely, it will leave us with a lot of curious questions. As you said, we will try to figure out the future through the eyes of the owl. Thank you so much, sir. I would now request the Honorary Director of COA-TRC Bhopal, Dr. Navneet Manath, to please put forward the vote of thanks.
Namaskar. On behalf of COA-TRC Bhopal and the BMS College of Architecture Bengaluru, I would like to present the concluding report as well as offer my sincere thanks to all who are the part of this webinar series. The fourth chapter of Quadrant 2021 took us through a really enriching and wonderful journey through the vanguards of Indian architecture across the four quadrants of our nation. The series began on 22nd January 2021 with the professional and emotional journey of the newly independent architects, explaining the vision of Indian architects during the era of 1947 to 1960. The series was inaugurated by the COA President, Architect Habib Khan, with expert talk delivered by Architect Shivdat Sharma from Chandigarh and Dr. Prasad Ranjan Das from Kolkata. The history and the struggle for Indian independence was narrated through the procession of architecture style over the year in the northern and eastern part of the country. The chapter 1, Architecture of the Independence, was about the vision and aspiration of then newly independent youth who still as masters were equally passionate about their work. The chapter 2, conducted on 22nd February 2021, was dedicated to the era between 1960 to 1980, where the nation started making policies that resulted in a structured approach to development. The webinar was inaugurated by the COA Vice President, Architect Sapta, and took all together a new dimension under the wisdom of our experts, Dr. Pawan Kumar from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi, and Dr. Manika Negi from HUDCO. Both of them are the architects currently serving the nation as policymaker. The first expert's talk was on architecture and policies, an integrated approach by Dr. Pawan Kumar, followed by a detailed description on housing for poor, policies, intervention, and design by Dr. Manika Negi. This session presented a shift from aspiration to reality. It opened numerous avenues for research and exploration through the reflection of existing policies. The session bridged the gap between the question, what should be, and what is. On 19th March 2021, the third chapter focused on the era between 1980 to 2000 and had discussion on the varied dimension of sustainability while revealing about agglutinating sustainability and architecture, inaugurated by respected Dr. Amok Kumar Gupta, Chairperson, SPA New Delhi. The version of the series consisted of a narration of Indian urban fabric of Jaipur by architect Vibhuti Sachdev and the global as well as local approach to sustainability by practicing architect Benny Curiskos. The expert took us through the approach and need for conservation while showcasing its implementation in their projects. Today, we conclude this web series, Quadrant 2021, Vanguards of Indian Architecture, with the final chapter 4 on globalization to inclusiveness. The documentation of the 70 years of post-independence Indian architecture journey will be incomplete without looking at the present and reimagining the future. Our experts were the visionaries who have dedicated their professional efforts to implementation and research on advanced architectural and construction techniques. Today, Dr. Amarnath CB, President India BIM Association, has demonstrated the the latest advancement and futuristic approach in the field of implementation and management of construction projects. Similarly, architect Sanjay Srivastava projected about the inception of ideas and design through the lens of artificial intelligence. Today's session took us through the new fledgling process of BIM and artificial intelligence. The need for self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, in architecture field can only be met if we blend the ethos of our new trailblazer with the vision of administrators and policymakers without compromising our vernacular and cultural heritage through a futuristic approach and implementation techniques. We are glad that we could deliver the sense of Quadrant 2021, Vanguards of Indian Architecture, as per the original schedule in spite of difficult time that we all are witness across the world today. For this, I would like to thank the BMS College of Architecture. Now, on behalf of the COA-TRC Bhopal, I take this opportunity to present vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thankfulness to the Council of Architecture, New Delhi, for giving responsibility to conduct such event across the country, exclusive for students and architects. We are highly obliged to our all chief guests across the 4 chapters who accepted our invitation, graced the session with their presence and wisdom, and provided us their time from their extremely busy schedule for these different chapters. I would also like to sincerely thank to all our experts for accepting our invitation and enlightening us with their experiences, knowledge, insights, and presentations. I would like to thank Dr. Mamta P. Raj, Director, BMS College of Architecture, Bengaluru, who always stood for COA-TRC Bhopal and made available all necessary arrangements in the institutes. I would also thank the COA New Delhi for giving all administrative and financial approval to organize such event at national level. A big thank goes to architect Shubhra Pandey for taking all the responsibility to conduct this webinar series, and also to architect Rachna Dia for coordinating the webinar series extremely well. In the last but not least, I would thank all my students, staff, delegates, and experts who are the part of this event. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Well, I would like to include one more thing, and this vote of thanks cannot be complete unless we thank architect Navneet, who has been continuously supporting and has been throughout this journey of the webinar series. Thank you so much, architect Navneet. That was a wonderful support from your end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Over to you, Shubhra.
Yes, sir.
And if you could permit me, on behalf of BMS College of Architecture, this has become possible because of two of my wonderful faculty members.
Really?
Have really worked it out on that, and I would like to acknowledge their hard work and the way they coordinated throughout this journey of this particular webinar series. Architect Shubhra Pandey and architect Rachna DR for their wonderful coordination and making this possible. Keep it up.
All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. With your permission, I would just like to also thank Shiv Kumar sir for constantly helping us with the technical assistance at every time. And thank you all for this. Thanks to our experts. Thanks to all the directors and heads for this opportunity.
So, Subra, I just want to say thank you, Shiv Kumar. I forgot to say thanks in the vote of thanks. So please, my sincere apology for that. But I didn't mean. Thank you, Shiv Kumar. You had a great job. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We may conclude the session. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
meet
you,
soon.
Srivastava.